If you've just started a business, or you already have a business, or you've always wanted to start a business, but you're a little bit put off by the complexities of marketing and all of that stuff, listen up, because this is for you. When it comes to business, marketing is everything. There's finding a customer base, there's communicating with a customer base, there's all sorts of things that go into it, and often we've had to use multiple different platforms just to go about that. And today's sponsor, Brevo, have just made life for business owners a lot easier. Brevo is your all-in-one platform that puts your email marketing, SMS, CRM, and automation all in one place. So instead of juggling all these different tools, you can do everything from one dashboard. You can build email campaigns with drag and drop templates, set up automations that run in the background, and even message customers directly with SMS and live chat. And my second favorite thing about Brevo is that it's made for normal people, right? There's a lot of you out there who may be a bit wary of technology and you're thinking, oh God, do I need to be a tech wizard for this? No, you don't. This is made so that everyone can use it. And I said what my second favorite thing was. Do you want to know what my first favorite thing is? Brevo are so confident in what they have built that they'll let you use it for free. You can send up to 300 emails a day and try it without spending a penny. So if you're serious about growing your business and keeping your marketing simple and stress-free, just click the link in the description below. Use code PAINGAME50, that's all block capitals, all one word, PAINGAME50, and you'll get 50% off Brevo's starter and standard plans for your first 3 months. Welcome back to the Pain Game for one of the fights of the year. It's Fabio Wardley versus Daniel Dubois. Don't blink. World title on the line. We've been spoiled the last few years, lads. But really, in the last couple of decades even, this is right up there for British boxing. A heavyweight title on the line, power punchers. This has got everything we love in a fight, right?
We're about to see something devastating with these guys. Like you look at the type of fighters, and you look at when you talk about finishers. You'll say these two are up there with the best finishers right now in the heavyweight division.
And what makes it interesting for me is how different they are as people as well. Like, I think there's a lot more than usual in heavyweight fights being talked about the mental side of things because of the questions we have over Dubois and the lack of questions mentally that we've got over Wardley, although some people are saying that might be down to the competition he's fought as well. Dave Allen said on his show in the last week, Daniel Dubois shit himself going into that Usyk fight. And as much as this is a different fight, could we see a repeat of that? Could we see that mental issue come into this fight maybe?
We can't forget what we've seen. We've seen it against Joe Joyce. We've seen it against that Usyk first time round. And that one is just the most puzzling one for me because he claims that he got, his moral was kind of broken after he didn't get the win when he thought he deserved it. And I'm like, mate, you've had this guy rolling on the floor for like 4 or 5 minutes. That should amp you up the most as a big puncher, right? Second time round, he looked like he'd already accepted that this guy's just better at boxing than me and I don't really have a chance. So there's always that possibility that Dubois will look for a way out if he can't find, if he doesn't find success pretty early. Fabio Wardley, on the other hand, he has the X factor of a fighter that you can't teach, in my opinion, where he just never say die. It doesn't matter how bad this fight looks. He has got the belief that eventually he's going to get it done.
One thing I've noticed in Fight Week, lads, and we've seen multiple examples of this, Daniel Dubois looks more irritated than I've ever seen him pre-fight. Like, he's always a little bit, but he's literally walking out of multiple interviews. That's never happened to my knowledge. And I feel like for Daniel Dubois, the stakes are incredibly high right now in terms of like how many world title fights do you get in your life? If you lose this one, you're not just, oh, well, I got beat by the best fighter in the world. There's an excuse for the Usyk fights. There's an excuse for the Joyce fight who came far too early. There's no excuses now. You're in your prime now, and now you got to show up. And I feel like he might be feeling the pressure. Is anyone else saying that?
I just think it's so difficult with Daniel Dubois in general because we know he's not a good talker. But I do think, like Travis just said, after the Usyk defeat, there's no doubt that he quit in my mind. I'm just putting out there, he quit without a doubt because he looked at his corner, he stood up and walked perfectly. Had that been Fabio Wardley, do you think he would have just stayed down? He would have been up instantly. And the fact is now, if he loses, where does he go?
I don't know how many years ago it was, maybe 5-6 years ago, they sparred. And at the time, Wardley was obviously learning the ropes and Dubois had a amateur pedigree behind him and all of that. Wardley admits he got the better of me. If a guy who you're younger than and you've had all the experience and he starts late in life as an accountant, for fuck's sake, and he comes in late to the game, learns everything, and then comes and whips your ass after you kicked his ass when you were 3 years younger than him, there's no way to hide then. And I think that would be a really hard moment for Dubois to handle.
You know what? I'm going to say something different because it seems like you lot are kind of like made your allegiances clear in terms of how you see this one going. That's what it feels like to me.
Not at all.
I would say Daniel Dubois, the difference that he's going through right now is there's no one holding his hand anymore. You've seen what Frank Warren has basically said, look, go into that presser. He always used to sit there. There was always a minder. He always had somebody kind of looking after him in these pressers. Now, the reaction to just jump out and leave is because no one is going to do the talking for him. Even, you don't even have like a Don Charles helping him out in his interviews. So it's fight or flight, and he's going to fly in an interview sense. So you can see he's irritated. I think because they're really pushing him in terms of personality. But let's say in the ring, there's many things that we've seen about Daniel Dubois in terms of he is seek and destroy. Daniel, go there, hit him, handle that job. He will do that. We asked about, does he have the mentality to walk into Wembley and fight AJ? Yes, he did. Yep. So we can't now say, is he like mental? Yes, there was fragility, and I can understand against Usyk, but who wouldn't have mental fragility against Usyk? When AJ was walking into the stadium, he was asking people, how do I beat him? So it's like Usyk is one of those people that Usyk is mentally destroyed Fury. He's hurt AJ.
So true.
AJ's now on his team trying to learn from him. So
I don't think we can use
that as the measuring stick to now say Dubois is not of the level when he's gone in against people that have tested him. He's fought Filip Hrgović. He's fought Jerome Miller.
The fact that he's going straight in with a dangerous puncher after such a devastating defeat, I think that alone says a lot, because look at Tyson Fury, a former, world champion, multiple belts. What does he do when he has time out? He jumps in with, a lesser opponent. But Daniel Dubois, straight in with a champion. So for me, although I'm saying there's definitely some vulnerability there, I've also got to give him credit the fact he's jumping straight in with Fabio Wardley, to be honest.
1,000%. Great points, lads. Now, let's look at this technically, because a lot of people are sort of giving Dubois the technical advantage because of that background that he's got and Wardley playing catch-up in his career. I'm not so sure. I'm not. I don't think it's as wide a gap as that people are making out. Like, does Dubois do some things better? Yeah, but how do you lot see this playing on a technical level? Is there a huge gap here or not?
I don't think they're miles apart. I definitely agree with you. I don't think they're miles apart technically at all. And that might be just because Dubois doesn't really tend to explore all of the things he might be able to do. He might have a lot more in his wheelhouse that, they see in the gym and they think, his IQ's through the roof. But when you watch him in the ring, it is pretty straightforward boxing. He is a guy that is slowly always kind of mounting the attack. He leaves behind. He does have a great jab. His footwork is pretty good for a guy his size. And, he's got heavy hands. I don't think he's got devastating concussive power, but I think it's definitely heavy hands where everything he lands on you does hurt. And when I look at Fabio Wardley, I see quite a patient guy who kind of accepts that he's probably going to be outboxed. And that's the kind of opponent that's quite tricky to navigate because, you might outland him a couple of rounds. You might cut his, over the nose bridge. That gets cut pretty much every single fight. But he's kind of gearing up towards an almost like a definitive. When you can see a guy who's losing on the cards, but as a fight story, he's on his way to getting something decisive. Yeah. And that's what Fabio Wardley's fight patterns kind of look like. So if I'm Dubois, my game plan in this fight is to pretty much go for an early stoppage.
Yeah. Just before we get to the game plans, question on the vulnerability that we have seen in Wardley technically. Obviously, Justice Hooney exposed him to some degree.
That's the one.
And even Joseph Parker, when he actually set to boxing and not the brawling, the lead hand of Joseph Parker, he had this left hook that kept landing over and over again, as well as the jab. And we know Daniel Dubois has one of the best jabs in boxing, and he bullied AJ with that to some degree. Is Loz, I'll go to you because your jab was phenomenal. Is this the path to victory? Is that what you see being the game plan?
Absolutely. I think the jab is absolutely essential because we know there's a lot of gaps in Fabio Wardley, and like you say, he did struggle with the jab against Joseph Parker. And I also think with Daniel Dubois, he'll be put on a lot more pressure than because Joseph Parker had these pockets where he was trying to box and then times he was trying to be aggressive, where we know with Daniel Dubois, it's going to be constant pressure. And, you mentioned earlier on about, I think Travis was saying, Fabio Wardley's a thinker. If you give him space, he can execute the game plan. But if you put the pressure on, similar when he fought Fraser Clark, he did struggle. And Daniel Dubois is going to be on him like a rash, and I think he's going to really struggle. If he stands off him, he has a lot better chance. But I don't think Daniel Dubois is going to give him any room to breathe.
You can imagine the Daniel Dubois corner when we look at that Hrgovic fight, for example, and the way they were screaming at him to keep that pressure on.
Yeah.
What they don't want is an interruption in that pressure, because that's when things can go wrong for Daniel. And I do wonder, if you look at that Anthony Joshua fight, when he was on the front foot, Dubois, it was all his way because he is such an imposing figure. Mm-hmm. My question is when he did sort of give AJ that minute to recover and AJ lashed him one and he got him backpedaling, and yes, it all worked out well for Dubois, but is this as simple as if Daniel Dubois is going forward, he's winning. If he's going backwards, he's losing. Or is it the same for Wardley? Can either of these fight on the back foot and win, maybe?
Ben Davison's a big person in this fight as well, in terms of the strategy that they go into this fight with. We've seen with Ben Davison in terms of the strategy with AJ and how he let himself down in terms of how he made AJ go about handling the job. Now, if your fighter's getting backed up with the jab and you are just aiming for that one glory punch, that one moment in the fight, it kind of almost puts yourself into the Wilder territory of, well, I'm looking for one thing to get it done, but you're losing, you're down on points, you're down on rounds, and you just have to go for broke. Now, we've seen with someone like Wardley, there is power in both hands, so he probably could still get it done. But those type of fighters, they worry me. Those type of fighters that rely on that one shot, it doesn't usually go their way. You need to have a greater way of breaking down a fighter, which I do feel Dubois from a technical level will do.
I think the telling point in the fight will come when you see Dubois take a shot that just buckles his legs just a little bit. And you'll see if he still bites down with the same grip. Because whilst, I think we glorify that moment where AJ, landed a shot just before getting stopped. But that was a good shot for the fight. We'd not seen AJ land anything. So that shot looked decent. That wasn't a big shot. Do you see what I mean? And I think Dubois, when it doesn't go his way for a sustained amount of time, is when you start to see the doubt creep in.
So this is the thing for me, and it's we already know, like, mentally, if one guy is getting beaten up for longer, who we think can handle that, right? I think that's Wardley. He's got that. He can be the nail or the hammer, whereas I don't think Dubois can handle being the nail for anywhere near the same length of time. Mm-hmm. And one thing I think is part of that, which is underrated potentially about Wardley handles pressure well, technically better than Daniel Dubois. I feel like what's ironic about this, and tell me if I'm wrong, lads, Dubois has all of the pedigree and all the experience, but I think he's stiffer than Wardley. I think Wardley is not actually... So when he takes a shot, Wardley, he rides them better, and he moves his head a hell of a lot more, and he has more defensive instincts. Daniel Dubois, when he takes a shot, he's stiff, and it really takes it out of him, because he doesn't actually, his hand defense is non-existent. These hands are right here, and at least Wardley does things to mitigate.
I'm gonna disagree with that one. I feel that Woodley's defense is his face, mate. And that's why it looks like that at the end of the fight. No disrespect to him, but it's like, unfortunately, you see him taking a lot of risks. You see him knowing that, I know what I'm going to do to you. And it has worked. And you think of his background, it's white collar. So the way he does fight.
What about the Hrgovic fight? What about the Hrgovic fight for Dubois? Because he used his chin as a defense.
Yeah, I agree with what Brian's saying here, because I think with Fabio Wardley, he's a lot more elusive in the way he does move his head, but he kind of fights, either he's defending or he's attacking, whereas Dubois, he's constantly using his footwork in and out of range. I think he sustains a better rhythm with the way he fights, whereas like I say, I think Fabio Wardley's so unpredictable. 1 minute he's great. I've seen him where he looks, footwork's good, head movement's great, attacks, but he doesn't always put it together. Whereas I feel Daniel Dubois on a whole keeps it together more. But I do know what you're saying when it comes to the head movement. He can be very static, but that's that amateur pedigree where it was the old school amateur where you're in and out with your feet, a bit like sword fencing. He hasn't really developed much of a head movement. When he fought Hrgovic, he did adapt slightly where he started to get out the way a little bit, but I think this is the great thing about this fight. You've got two guys, massive punchers, but defense-wise, neither one of them are great. I think that's the top and bottom of it.
You know what? I think it's one of them ones, when you go to the gym and you're sparring, yeah, and you start to do things that you think boxers will do. I see that with Fabio Wardley sometimes where he's like, I'm just going to try this. I'm going to try and, I'm going to try and look slick here. I'm going to try this. We've all tried to play around in this thing where his fight style is one way. The first time I saw Fabio Wardley, me and Trav was doing a watch along, didn't really like the guy. He was trying to do some slick stuff. I think it was low range. Yeah. It was
what,
low.
Though? He's a clever kid, right? Let me just give him his due. He's more creative than Daniel Dubois. The reason Daniel Dubois' corner scream at him throughout the fight is because they want to control him like a fucking PlayStation controller because he doesn't think a lot in there. He's pre-programmed. And if the fight doesn't go according to that program, that is where he collapses. Fabio Wardley, he doesn't have a script in his head. He has belief inside of him that I'll find a fucking way. And I do think that is a big advantage. We have to move on to power because I've seen, amazingly, so many podcasts talk about these two as power punchers, but they have completely different conclusions. And I'm interested to see what you guys have to say because some people are going, Wardley had Rocky movies, but he's about to face Clubber Lang here. Like, you've been going life and death with a Justice Hooney, with a Joseph Parker. They're not Daniel Dubois. This is another level. And because you've been scraping those wins, the power that is going to be touching you when you've been getting touched by these level of fighters, it's just going to be too much. Is that a fair take?
I like that take.
Absolutely. I think it's 100%.
Let me ask you a question. How big of a jump is from Joseph Parker to Dubois, would you say?
In terms of power or in terms of just level in general?
Levels.
I wouldn't say in terms of levels. I actually think Joseph Parker technically is a better fighter, but it's the power with Dubois. This is why it's so interesting when you're talking heavyweights. Like, forget the skill, that power if it lands. And I agree in the fact of Fabio Wardley in all of his fights goes life and death. I mean, how long can you keep fighting like that before it catches up? Daniel Dubois, he's never been in with anybody with that sort of power, in my opinion. I do think it's going to be a different ballgame.
Let me flip it on you. Daniel Dubois, he's been stopped by Usyk. He also he went life and death with Lorena. He also got stopped by Joyce. I think Fabio Wardley hits harder than them.
Absolutely. And I think Fabio Wardley also hurt Joseph Parker. So if we're talking about levels, I'd say Joseph Parker is on level with Dubois. That's a fight I really wanted to see to really know if Dubois was about to have like a real turning point in his career and go on a run. So the fact he didn't get that fight and Fabio Wardley did, and Fabio Wardley's come out victorious, that's a massive statement. And I don't think Fabio Wardley gets the credit for that because we always go back to white collar. And I share the white collar background. And I'm telling you right now, when you get in with some HR dude from accounts or something like that, you don't know what you're up against.
No, right?
But we're talking about those stoppages, but you've also got to think the fact is Daniel Dubois has been fighting at a higher level for a long time. I think you can't compare the opponents from both sides. And, Kevin Lorena can actually punch. He can actually bang. I know he's really come up from cruiserweight. Joe Joyce, how old was Dubois? About 21. He was young, and it wasn't like he was knocked out. His eye literally closed. He had a fractured eye socket. It wasn't a case of his punch resistance. His bone actually broke. So you can't really judge.
What you're saying, Loz, about the going at the specific records here, my thing would be when people draw from Dubois' background and the fights that they point to show he has got mental toughness, when they're taken away from Fabio Wardley, they didn't hit like Daniel Dubois. Big Baby Miller and Hrgovic don't hit like Fabio Wardley, and they're the two fights that everyone draws from. So, and he took some punches in those fights as well. And right now, I do wonder how much this mental toughness is going to come into play. I want to give you a Fabio Wardley interview stats that he was asked to grade both fighters. across power, jab, mentality, all of this stuff. And I want to see what you think about if he was right and if he was being fair, because I do think it's interesting to see if they're delusional coming into this. So for power, he went 10-10, which I think is fair. He's given him his due. For jab, he gave Dubois a 10 and himself an 8.
That's good. That's
which
fair.
I think shows he knows I'm going to have to navigate this. Mentality, this is a good one. He gave himself a 10. He said, Dubois, 7. And he goes, sometimes a 2.
Mind games.
Doesn't fucking rate him.
games.
He said defense. He just laughed. He went 5-5. We're both pretty shit defensively. He went chin 9-9. Cardio. He goes, I'll give myself the advantage 9-7. So he's given himself mentality, cardio, and also boxing IQ. He said, I'm an 8. He's a 6. So he gave the advantage on to Dubois on the jab and nothing else. And for himself, massive advantage on mentality, cardio, and boxing IQ. Is that fair?
He's clever because I think right now he's actually posturing for the type of fight that he wants to have. You know, like when Fury is called AJ a pumped up bodybuilder, this, that, and the other, and then AJ had to almost prove he was a boxer, wanted to go away from his natural gifts. I think in this fight, he's saying, well, show me a bit of IQ. Show me, be overthinking this fight, which has you on an off tilt. Even in the moments where he might want to take a backward step, he might be saying, he's going to think I'm not brave in this moment. So he might step forward. Little things to try and mess with a fighter. I think he's playing like mental gymnastics with someone that has got a point to prove, because he knows that the main thing that everyone's talking about is, will you give up? And there's going to be moments where he has to take a backward step to recover or to refresh himself to go in again. So I think it's clever stuff.
I would say I really hope that Fabio Wardley isn't banking on this affecting Dubois, because I don't think
you took the words
Dubois
out my mouth.
is playing this game whatsoever, right? I remember when AJ was doing all that stuff to intimidate Dubois, all their sparring stories about what happened. He tried to big bro him. I was going to wrap a chair around your head. Water off a duck's back to Dubois, bro. I
completely agree. What we're dealing with is the Forrest Gump in boxing, who you tell him how to assemble that machine gun, he will assemble it double quick, you know? He's not a thinker. He is just a machine, and he'll do what he's programmed to do. Now, on that, lads, path to victory and predictions. I want to get how each of you imagine this fight will play out. What I love about this is we can all be wrong, because it is as close to a 50-50 as I've seen in a long time at this level in terms of the favourite. Do you want to start us off, Trav?
I say Fabio Wardley KO round 10. It's going to go long. It's going to be Dubois. Fabio is going to come through fire, but I think he's going to push Dubois, and there's going to be some moments that are like really telling turning points. And I think that's going to be how it plays out. I think the method for victory for Dubois is to crash it on Fabio Wardley for 3 rounds and try and get it done early, because he cannot see round 8 or 9 with Wardley and think that he's going to be victorious in this one.
Anyone?
I mean, for me, I just think Daniel Dubois is going to be applying the pressure. He's just going to be landing, cut him up. He's going to be bruised and battered, and I think he stops Fabio Wardley. I'm going to say in the middle to late rounds. I can't see Fabio Wardley just taking the punishment he's going to receive.
Wow.
I'm definitely with you on that prediction. I think I'm going to say Daniel Dubois backs him up, beats him, like hurts him most of the night, really. I think there's going to be some real shots that I think Daniel Dubois has to deal with from Fabio. Like, he has to show that he has a chin, but I really feel that the knockout will come in the 9th or 10th. I'm going with a knockout.
Okay. I think that Dubois deserves his credit for what he's done, but I also think that we've misinterpreted it a little bit in terms of I think Hrgović is a known lazy fighter. He's not a dig down, keep going type of guy. I think Big Baby doesn't have that level of power, and I think that the defensive problems in Dubois' game weren't exposed by Anthony Joshua in the way they should have been because of how he fought. And I think everything you've said about the output from Dubois is completely true, but I think that one fighter here is capable of handling the other fighter's output and continuing through it to find a way. And I don't think that Dubois is going to be willing to go through the fire in the way that Wardley is. And I think that people are underestimating how impressive that win against Joseph Parker was as well. Like, Joseph Parker was 20 pounds heavier than him that night, and he still found a way to get him basically. And not just that, Joseph Parker came through 2 rounds in particular. Round 2, this is the thing about Wardley. I can imagine Dubois hurting him a little bit and him going, right, nodding his head and going, now it's on. And then Dubois being like, what the fuck just happened about 5 minutes later? Like, I just think that Dubois, I haven't seen anywhere near enough of him taking a beating, which is, you're going to have to do that at some point here. So yeah, I'm going Wardley by KO. This is 50-50 down the line on the pain game. Really good breakdown, lads. Some really great points, and I especially like the way you both gave him Dubois credit for people maybe overestimating how much he is a quitter and all of that, because it was Usyk, and Usyk has done that. He's mentally broken many people. My thing is, for this one, if I'm a Dubois in his team, he can't quit this time, because then you can't ignore, you can't hide from that tag ever. Then that's that. It's done then. But it's going to be a good fight, lads. Saturday night live on DAZN. We'll be watching. Big love to the boys on the Pain Game. Don't forget to check out Lawrence's boxing channel and, of course, the Undefeated podcast. We'll catch you after the fight.